I didn't do cardio for 4 weeks after a 16-week cut. What happened to my physique? Before starting this video, I'd like to thank Yode Watches for sponsoring it and hosting my very first giveaway. They'll be giving away a $180 credit for a watch just like this one. All you need to do to enter is to check the link in the description below for more details. These are wooden watches. They don't run on batteries and they have a very clean aesthetic. I wear this one to all of my business meetings. The code below gets you $25 off your order and a free engraving on your watch. They also ship worldwide. Typically, I haven't accepted sponsors in my videos, but this is something that I like and use very much. So thanks so much for the opportunity to share it with you. Be sure to check them out. Yode Watches in the description below. I'm up, but just a few pounds. Do you remember those first 5 pounds that I lost in the first week of my diet? Well, that's what came back. Pounds. That's all it was. It wasn't fat, and that's what matters. You see, putting on fat is a lot slower of a process than you think. At least, if you did what I did. Over these last 4 weeks, I didn't do any cardio, but I also didn't have any cheat meals. No Chipotle, no fast food, and no bags of chips. I did have more fruit. I did have some cans of soup. It added up to me having more carbs in total. But I didn't go out of my way to eat anything different than I normally did on the diet. I'm technically still on the diet, just taking a short refueling break. If anything did change, I just ate a greater amount of the same foods. The second thing that happened is I'm a little bit stronger now than I was at week 16 of the diet. You can check out that video in the description below. But the reason is obvious. Doing cardio is doing extra work, and not having to do it means that I save my energy and work capacity for lifting. The progress in strength isn't too substantial though. I learned a long time ago, if I want to be strong, I need to weigh at least 200 pounds. This even includes a fat 200 pounds so I can fill out my leverages. More information on that video if you click here. You see, where my mind is right now is part of the reason why I haven't put on that much fat after not doing cardio for this long. Yes, I did extend my cut to 24 weeks, and my mindset is that I'll have to continue the cut. And that's actually where things get kind of tough. You see, for a time, I was starting to revert back to my older self ever so slightly, that when I had no choice while traveling for work, that I did want to eat more of that bread, at times when I shouldn't have. But it didn't amount to anything, because I actually didn't eat the bread. I was still eating the same 5 to 6 meals a day, controlled as I could during times of travel. And yes, I do know that you can get fat from eating oatmeal. You can get fat from eating chicken breast and broccoli, but you'll have a harder time getting fat from eating those foods compared to eating chicken nuggets and nutty bars. So here's what I've been doing. When I told my coach, Shelby Starnes, that I wanted to extend the diet to 24 weeks, at week 16, he told me to revert back to how I ate the first week of the cut. 6 meals a day, 50 grams of protein, 30 grams of carbs, 15 grams of fats, except for the last meal where there's no carbs. This has been the same for quite a while. At week 17, I increased the carbs from 30 grams per meal to 40 grams per meal. And at week 18, we went from 40 grams per meal to 50 grams per meal. Then at week 19, we went to 30 grams of carbs per meal on days that I lifted, which was 4 days a week. And then on days that I didn't lift, which was 3 days a week, I had 20 grams of carbs per meal. Now weeks 16, 17, 18, and 19 were all done with no cardio, so I was at the gym 4 times a week instead of the diet peak of 13 times a week. 4 days a week is so much more sustainable. Now to the point of sustainability. Working out 13 times a week is unsustainable. It's nuts. It's crazy. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody can keep up with it. That's going twice a day for 6 days a week, and on your rest day on Monday, you only go to the gym once that day rather than twice. No one can keep up with that. But there's times during a training period that you have to push the limits. In all competitive sports that I can think of, when people train, they will push the limits of their body just before the competition and then give themselves some time to rest before the real thing. I can tell you from my experience in powerlifting, even down at the state level of competition, I usually peaked my training about 3 to 4 weeks out from the competition day. The 3 to 4 weeks time of rest allowed my body to recuperate from the training, and I experienced something called delayed transformation, where from the rest, my body was stronger on competition day. You can read more about it in this book. So in a diet, after you push very hard for a few weeks at the end, your body will rebound a little bit. Being a natural guy who definitely doesn't train at 100% all the time, hate to admit that, it's nice to have a little rest. But more importantly, it's nice to keep the cleaner eating habits from the diet afterwards. You see, for me, the main goal of the diet was to learn how my body has changed since I first did my cut with Shelby Starnes 10 years ago, and how to cut fat in these changed times. The second goal was to get my life back in line, and I knew if I could get my diet and exercise habits back on point, I'd be more disciplined to tackle bigger problems like my work life, which I was very unhappy with at the time. I hated everything about my life in 2016. From my work, to my relationships, to my fun hobbies, even something like YouTube, you can tell in the videos near the end of the year that I just wasn't happy with what was going on. I didn't like the situation that I was in, and I was going to do something about it. I wasn't going to settle for the terrible situation that I was in across all fronts. Didn't matter what it was, if it was for fun or if it was for work, I was going to make sure that I got myself out of the hole, and that I was going to stop making the excuses and being okay with just having everything in my life just suck. I made excuses for why I wouldn't pursue other opportunities. I made excuses for why I wouldn't pursue better opportunities. And I made excuses for why I was in the state that I was in, feeling sorry for myself. My habits, values, and expectations are back in line now after this diet. During this diet, we're still on it. And it's up to me to keep true to them. I want to let you know this. I've already talked with Shelby. We're continuing after week 24 because I'm moving and everything is insane right now. I wish you could see the room right now. I'll show you the room. It's a disaster, okay? This place is a mess, right? This is the room that I live in. I'm gonna put this at the very end, and I think only like 10% of people will actually see it. But the reason that we're going to continue is because I really dropped the ball near the end, and I shouldn't have really extended it to 24 weeks is what's going on. I'm like being honest with you. Now, when it comes to the fat loss vlog, what's gonna happen to it? I'm not sure. I at least wanna like have a good topic when I make a video like this, because I wanna be talking about stuff that people would be interested in. Random things like traveling while on a diet, I don't think too many people really give about, to be quite honest. So we're gonna have it at that. Whatever video I think would be the best appropriate. I'm not quitting and I'm not stopping. I dropped the ball, and I dropped the ball in that I didn't go to the gym when I needed to go to the gym, and I actually ate way less than what I normally needed to eat for a refuel. Those 50 grams of carbs per meal, I'm lucky if I got 35 to 40 on some of those days, because I was at a medical conference for 9 days in Chicago. So I'm just a regular dude. Like, can we just put it like that? Thanks so much for watching this week. And I would say see you next week, but I don't know if there's gonna be a fat loss video next week. There might be one the week after or after that. This ending's way too long. People just click out of there. So,